Okay, folks, well, welcome to our one of our dockside chat series for the Valuation Lab. I'm Steve Parenti, and the academic director of really nothing, but I'm the spirit animal for Millie right now. Mike Finch is with me. Mike, raise your hand so the owl picked you up somewhere.
Somewhere?
No, there he is.
There
okay,
thank you.
And we also have with us coming in with coffee, fresh live from the Nordic area, Samir, who's actually the true academic co-director of this program. So this session is a dockside chat series. We are live from Stockholm. This is the 9th year that we have been running the Global Valuation Lab. So it's exciting to do. This is the first time we've done this overseas. We've done a Val Lab chat series in Palo Alto, California, or really San Francisco. So by the bay, though it was fireside because it was warm, colder then. So this is a really exciting opportunity because we have several folks that have been doing this for a long time. Mike and I have been doing the Val Lab for 15 years. It's the first time we've been together, actually teaching the lab together in Stockholm. So that's exciting. Samir has been involved for at least 4 years with us and Risk 5 and keeping the lights on the Karolinska Institute side. What's exciting is that I see we have Lars, who is here. Without Lars, there would be no Global Stockholm Lab whatsoever. Lars, you're the one that started this whole thing by connecting me to Carl Johan way back when, who is sort of the god of basically this whole program at Karolinska Institute. So thank you for doing that. We also have some alum of the lab coming in as well, which is great too. Michelle Sotak. Actually, you can put a camera on Michelle, but Michelle is a lab warrior from many years with the domestic Val Lab, and probably a future instructor too, for that matter. And Doug Paulson, who's been involved with some of these things way back. I think, Doug, you might correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't you at the Sweden Lab way back when, in 2015?
I was. I actually, you used the picture for your LinkedIn advertisement for this. So I was like, well, use that picture. I got to at least see what's going on here in 2023. But yeah.
Are you gonna like give me a Venmo pay stuff to pay for that copyright image of your picture, or it's just...
No,
okay.
no, that is free. That's in the comments. That's free of charge.
Right. And then also Paul Gam here as well. Paul's been one of our executives in residence and just a huge longtime supporter of Millie when Millie was just a vapor of an idea. So thanks, Paul, for joining us here live. So just a few quick thoughts about what we were going to be doing. This is a 30-minute conversation. We're already a few minutes in. That's on the record, recorded, and then we're going to go off the record. What's exciting is that we have a whole variety of folks that are here from Sweden. Probably going to talk to Samir first, just about asking him why he keeps doing this. And then the next question to Mike, this will give you guys some prompts here.
Okay.
Why Mike is even, why do you keep doing this, Mike? I asked you for 3 months. You gave me 15 years, for God's sake. And then also just sort of a round robin of some of the students that are there. And then if I could ask, you can think about it, Michelle, Doug, just thoughts about also Christine, who's been involved too. Like what are highlights of when you did this, either domestically or overseas, sort of a favorite memory or concern from that time. So, but I'm going to turn it to you, Samir. Like, what keeps you going with this? Why are you excited to have us back? Because you have moved heaven and earth this year, given all the bureaucratic stuff that we've kept behind the scenes that no one could see to actually make this work.
Yes, well, first, it's a pleasure to have you all here. Well, SSES is actually the first one that brought me into that. So I think we need to blame SSES that they sucked me into a great program. And since we believe that entrepreneurship education should be interdisciplinary, we value quite a lot interactions and building networks. And the first time I received that mission, it was a little bit okay. It was a little bit strange. Okay, guys coming from US, they are management, they are focused on business, real core business. We are a medical university, and so how are we gonna create that vibe? And then I met all of you, and I was like shocked. Oh, that we can work together, and that has given the impression that we need to promote even more to keep that bridging between the management school, between business, and how we can bring ideas from bench into society. And we have a gap, and we do all understand that gap. We are expert in one field, but we miss quite a lot of information. And meeting you guys, and you delivered, wow, amazing job, seriously. And we brought companies, And we brought a Swedish company, Swedish Innovation, and they get to see your service, and they were impressed. And they said, "Oh, damn it, we need to do that again." So that was the main attractive part. Yes.
Awesome. Let me make sure we're. Jessica, are we recording
Nope.
Yes,
now? Okay, I'm not sure we were recording before, but now we are for sure. So just to just get, we put a stub on that. Global Val Lab, dockside chat in Stockholm, continuing. When I come back to you, Samir, because in case I wasn't captured.
Yes.
Michael.
it was recorded.
Okay. Okay, just making sure. Mike Finch.
Yeah, so, yeah, Steve came to me, we met out at a Holiday Inn on the strip, going to the airport. Steve was going to the airport, I think I was coming back from the trip. And it was a long time we could get together and discuss this, and he had this great wild idea how we could do this with all the MBA students, and I'm sort of bad mouthing the idea just to make sure that we shake the tree and see what lands, and anyhow, we decided to go forward with it. That summer, we put together the first lab, and we had a small group, and I put them in one team and said, okay, how should we do this? And we worked on it for half our semester, and then we piloted our first project using that, and yeah, it looked pretty good. So we refined it since then and moved it on, but I always thought that the heart of the lab is that the educational experience for the students. I just think it's a good opportunity to do things you don't get to do in graduate school. So much of graduate school is sitting and listening to lectures, writing reports, finding certain quick little studies. We do quick studies, but they're big studies. They're fast and they're furious, and we sort of tell everybody that going in. So you do work your butt off in this class, but I think you do learn a lot from it too. And so from the educational side, I think it's very valuable. I also think at the university, for the university, it's valuable too, because one of the reasons we got this stuff is Randy Johnson came to it early on and said, you guys leave so much here at the university, so much great innovation on the cutting room floor because there's so much innovation. There's so little concern about the business side, even among our tech transfer people. They're just trying to say, oh, quick, can I patent this or should I patent this? If I shouldn't patent it, just throw it away and let it sit. Maybe we'll come back to it someday. We spent our first 2 years going through their backlog and helping them understand, they use the stage gate process. We were the second stage gate. Should you go through or not? Is this something worth following up on or not? And it's in most things where you're talking about investment. 90% of the time we're saying these projects aren't going to go anywhere, so at least they're not ready to go somewhere else. But there were 9 or 10% that could have a future. They needed some work, they needed some people, they needed some leadership. And so it's been very good for the university. It's brought the Carlson School and other schools in the university much closer together than they ever have been. And that's to Steve's credit, who went around and sweet talked the deans into signing a letter that said, yeah, my students can take this class, they'll get credit for it. We encourage it. And we get a lot of people. We get people from the law school, we get people from clinical side, pharmacy, nursing, a lot of engineers, and it works out really well. And one of the things I think is really interesting and unique about what we do at Carlson is for a long time, most of our students are part-time students. And for the full-time students, I think the best gift we could give you is introducing you to those full-time students, because the network you can build from them, the part-time is the network you can build, and the information you can get from them is invaluable. They can tell you who's hiring, what they're looking for, they're the ones hiring. And as we've made this over 15 years, our alumni group is huge. And I think every cohort that comes through can take advantage of that, and does take advantage of that. And that's a big opportunity for you.
So speaking of that event, expanded alumni, what makes this sort of exciting is that, okay, we did it in Minnesota, we've taken it to Sweden, we've taken it to Palo Alto, we're taking it to Cambridge, England. There's still time, sign up. But also we've extended the scope of the degree programs now to having this global medical industry MBA. What's exciting is beyond just the part-time MBAs, we have 2 students here, actually 4 total, from China working in Pfizer, doing the global medical industry MBA, which we've actually used the Val Lab chat series to market the global medical industry MBA for about 2 solid years. Of Tom Gunderson, there'd be like a station identification break to talk about the marketing piece. I'm just curious, for the folks who see it at the table here, just whoever wants to chime in, introduce yourselves, say what it is, as you're just learning about the lab, because you're just finishing all your coursework. what excited you to come into this program, given that almost all of it is online, asynchronous? This is the first time you get to see people like humans interacting together.
Yeah,
So,
I will start. This is Lily Wang from Pfizer. I'm working as a enabling functions, not directly contribute to the pharmaceutical core business. So joining the valuation lab actually really inspired me a lot. That's deep dive into the commercial side of the pharmaceutical industry and healthcare sectors. So I learned a lot about how to run the business, how to think like a businessman, and also a lot of like a very professional regulatory IP things that I never got the chance to engage with if I just dig into my day-to-day work. And I got a lot of exposure to those professional co-hosts that we have in the valuation lab. So this is invaluable to me as a Pfizer colleagues that working for a pharmaceutical company. I would surely have those experience to bring back to work, so I understand more about how the company is running the business, and to have more deeper understanding of our business units, that how they think and why they talk like that.
Mhm.
And it's super super helpful. Yeah.
Well, so my name is Yin Zhang. My name is Yin Zhang. I'm a regulatory operation manager in Pfizer. So my experience that when you work for a company as big as Pfizer, you only focusing on a very, very specific area. For me, is I've been working in the regulatory area for past 10 years, my whole career. So my initial thought was to actually enlarge the aspect I'm skilled at. So we learned a lot of courses in this program, just focusing on the FDA parts. Do we need a 510K? Do we need this new product? So, but I do not have any experience in the financial aspects, in the IP aspect, the marketing aspect. So from this program, I actually learned a lot of things about the area I'm not quite skilled at. So it's really, really a great, I think, experience for me.
See, Lars, what you did? It's amazing, Lars. You started this whole thing out. So could you imagine? Because I think this conversation started 17 years ago, that this would have gotten this far.
No, just thank you for that this little seed has flourished like this is just incredible. So I'm really excited that all of this has happened. And I wanted to plant maybe another seed here as well. And för er som pratar svenska där borta, jag doktorerade på KI för nästan 30 år sedan. So that everyone knows that. I got my doctorate at Karolinska, that's kind of what I quickly said there. But I'll actually be in Stockholm in early June, and I've set up meetings with KTH, who I've collaborated with for 30 years, essentially. And we're looking to discuss an expansion of an exchange program with the students out of KTH. So that's another seed I'm trying to plant, and I would love to meet with anyone in the room who might be interested to chat about these exchanges that we're considering that will expand on this kind of interaction between US and Sweden and Minnesota in particular, where Scandinavia flourishes.
Perfect. So yeah, Lars meets Samir, Samir meet Lars.
Yes,
That's,
let's make sure we connect them.
yeah, for sure you need to connect.
Yes.
So before I start up into the whole room, just if I can ask Doug, Michelle, any favorite memories, Ricardo too, of the Val Lab in your experience, or how it helped or hindered your career? We're always open for that too.
I mean, favorite memory. So, I mean, I guess a little bit of background, and apologize if I've got some background noise as I'm driving. But I wasn't from medical industry. I didn't go into the medical industry. What had really drawn me to it was the international experience, of course, but coming from finance and focusing on the valuation and financial aspects of it, and working with actual startups, founders, people that wanted to do something or had an idea for something was really what drew me to it. Had a blast in the program, the work leading up to it, and then the actual 2 weeks out there itself. As I mentioned, a lot of work doing that and working with those guys, but really one of the highlights, if not the highlight of my MBA experience. So as far as working from that, not having gone into the medical industry, kind of limited there, but again, financial analysis, financial modeling was certainly one of my interests, and just helped further that along with that experience in Sweden. So a great program, lots of good memories from it, and very much appreciated. Glad that it's still continuing on.
Thanks, Doug. And then Michelle.
Yeah, I guess for me, it was definitely a great experience. I don't even know, Steve, how many times I did the Val Lab. Maybe more than twice, I'm not sure. But what I liked about it was really what Mike said, was that it's definitely an experience that you don't really get in grad school. I was a part-time MBA student, so I had the working experience too, but what I really enjoyed about the Val Lab was that it gave you exposure to things beyond just what you were doing in your day job. Because I feel like in your job, you may get exposed to one piece of it, but not thinking through the whole valuation process and the whole commercialization process. So that was really eye-opening to me and let me kind of explore different things throughout my career.
Thanks. And actually you did a bit of a career transition yourself. I mean, when you were in the lab, I think you were at United or Optum, and then you're at Abbott now, I think, right?
Yep, and had different roles in marketing, different roles in reimbursement, health economics. So it all kind of ties back to the same thing.
Yeah, there's at least, if I count, like 4 UHG alum directs or actual active people in the class right now. So I'll throw it open to the class. So I guess the big question for anyone who wants to chime in: why did you decide to do this? Why this class? Was it just like, man, I need to go to Scandinavia, MedTech, the legend of the lab? Anyone, as long as you speak up loud enough for the owl to hear you.
For me, I did it on campus last spring, and I enjoyed it so much, and it was so applicable and comprehensive for everything we learned in the grad program. I wanted to give another go, and it helped that it was in Sweden. So
Cool.
I think it was a good crash course into just knowing how a product or a service or a device really goes through all of the different, regulatory, reimbursement, IP, to get to a point where it can actually provide value, not only to the client or whoever has developed it, but then also the customer. So it was an interesting thought exercise to be able to go through.
And you have an interesting background with this too, right? I mean, you're an entrepreneur yourself. You've developed this stuff, your own stuff, and now you're seeing, and you had your product went through the lab, right?
It did last spring, I think, if
Yeah.
I remember correctly. So it was interesting to see it from the side of a client last year, and get the recommendations from the team, and then now come back and do it from the other side. And be a student going through the team. And I still find myself, every time we're trying to evaluate something for our client right now, I immediately think about how it applies to my company, and I'm kind of like checking the boxes constantly to make sure that we're also doing the steps that we need to be taking. So it's been a really interesting perspective.
So we're gonna talk about a little bit, like we may have a few of them that come on the line later, but I mean, there are students that come in from the Sweden side. Tell a little bit about those students. What are their objectives when they come in, and how do they get value from this?
Exactly. So the student that we used to recruit for the lab, they are coming from one institution called Stockholm School of Entrepreneurship. And the beauty about this institution is that it combines the 6 major universities in Stockholm. So we have Karolinska Institute, which is a medical university. We have Stockholm University. We have KTH, the one that Lars talked about, is the technical university. We have the music school, we have the art school, and we have the business school. So they all come from different backgrounds, but the majority that actually get super excited about it are the student that comes from our Master for Bioentrepreneurship. So because they have a medical background and they want to enforce the business part of it. So we guide them through 2 years. They learn quite a lot about business, but they want to actually see it happen, as you have mentioned. So it also happens in the classroom. You get a lot of theory, you get a lot of things that you actually cannot make your wet hand in it. So this is super important. And when they take projects and they work and they see different mindset, And they get to understand that it's not like it goes by the business model that you see in the school, or it doesn't go by the book how you should go and talk to your customer. They actually do it. So they were super important that they go out there. It's not like just you take the theory and you listen to your professor and you just understand that, okay, it should be done like that. As you have mentioned, your experience, so most of them, they also tend to start their businesses and they actually super proud about their babies, first baby is perfect. And then reality comes and they can see it. Okay, that's the way that we should actually go through the boxes. So this is super valuable for them. They understand and they also bring bridges because most of Europeans, they want to open up the US. You are our biggest market. So whenever we tend to collaborate and do things in Sweden, is a very small population, 10 million. So it's a really good place to actually start. But later on, the first eye is to go to the biggest market. So, and we need to make that shift and having such an institution out, it opens door. So this is super important. They learned about that as well.
And I guess that's sort of, I want to harp back on that because we are doing this in Sweden.
Yeah.
It may not be an obvious place that you think about, this is why we're doing medical innovation. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, until Lars approached me and had me meet Carl Johan
Yes.
now 12 years ago, I wouldn't have put it on the map. I mean, but if you could just give a little background, and Lars, this goes to you too. Why is Sweden this sort of like this basically this hub? I mean, even the startup that we saw today
Yeah.
is selling a unique product, you know,
Yeah.
basically to every major drug company on the planet, and doing most of their business in the US, it seems, or
Yeah.
Cambridge, England too.
Absolutely. Sweden is actually what we call well, we are most likely, if no one gets offended, we are the most innovative country in Europe. So that's really important, even though we bypass all the other countries in the amount of innovation per capita. So this is super important. This is for a reason. First, we have the education. So we have a really solid education system and open-mindedness to try new things. So in other politically correct things, we don't take risk, as most European countries does. So, but we actually go in silos. And the universities here, they have one law that is a little bit strange to most people that don't know. They don't own anything of your innovation. So if you are a researcher here, or if you are a student that you come up with an idea, you have the right to that idea. So there is nothing to be shared with the university. This actually brings a problem because usually if there is no support or correct way of doing things, it ends up most of the time as a publication or in the drawer. But if it picks up, it goes outside the university and most of the time a professor or a student will do a spin-off. And that's, we have seen the examples. The professor called that person and said, oh, I have an innovation. And you have seen that person was working in a company and said, oh, whatever. So it's the whole point is that we know that it's a little bit strange to make it out. But once it's out, it can flourish with the right people in it. And we have support. The government provide a lot of support, especially for early stage ideas. And also the ambition is that we need to go to US. So we need to prove that we can scale. That's the main reason why we have very big companies here that have managed to become unicorns. For the fact is that they believed in the concept and they started and then they opened up.
Lars?
Can I add one more thing there? I think that
Sure.
there's a rich discussion around all of that that could be really interesting. I agree with everything you said. One difference with the US and Scandinavia or Europe in general is also that we have healthcare for everyone. So when you have that, you feel some security to be able to go out and dare to be an entrepreneur. Whereas I know many here in the US who sort of have that consideration, but they really can't because then they lose healthcare or can't get it or becomes too expensive. So that becomes an obstacle in the environment here. And also I agree with the early education. But one thing that I experienced as an early scientist in Sweden is that it used to be that the academic sort of environment and research was very siloed from industry. But when those floodgates open and we understood that what we develop and discover in academia really needs to be taken out to commercialize, then the vehicle for that is business development and entrepreneurship. Then the floodgates just open wide. So Sting in Stockholm, as you know, Stockholm Innovation and Growth, I was very early with Per and learned his early story, how he sort of started that initiative. And it's just amazing how that has grown into all over Sweden, those kind of initiatives and activities. I think is really showing the strength of the innovation ecosystem in Scandinavia.
Yeah, and I have to admit, I mean, honestly, it wasn't Lars and then what you said. I mean, most of what I was taught to think about Scandinavia, but actually more Sweden, was welfare state,
Yes.
not innovation. you know, but I mean, I remember when I first got here and they're like, look, we made Spotify and a bunch of all this stuff, you know, let's tell us something. Like, I actually just heard 2 or 3 people going, what, in the background here. So, you want to introduce, well, no, actually,
Yes.
see if she's here.
Yes, are you here, Emily? The first, yeah, that now she's, yeah, Emily, are you here? She's here.
Because then we have Norwegian representation,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
At least
I'm
that's
sure
my-
Emily is here, but yeah, she will come up.
Emily, if you want to come in and just join the conversation, just anything exciting about what's going on in the Nordics, we just so we have not a pure Swedish perspective would be wonderful. I want to make one comment that I think relates, and granted, I'm cross-selling the Cambridge program again, but I think the one thing that you highlighted about everybody here gets to own their own IP makes obviously a huge difference. That was actually one of the exciting things when we talked about doing the work with Cambridge University, the Cambridge ecosystem. Interestingly enough, University of Cambridge has the exact same attitude. They basically decided as a university, you know, whether not just medicine, but physics, everything, it's like, it's just too much work for the university to keep tabs on everybody and what share of IP. And so the thought is, it's just better to just, we don't own it, go make it, go commercialize it, and then put a startup somewhere near here and build an ecosystem and support that space. And even if you have sort of, you know, large majors like right downtown, like AstraZeneca being headquartered right there, but also a whole, just like there is in Sweden, a whole network of small startups that can grow to be either acquired or grow in their own pace and see where things are going
And now
on.
we are bringing them back to university, to campus.
Yep,
So we free up a lot of place. So now all research is in that building on the back. And then the old lab space, we are renovating them and bringing them research companies to come and sit and be as close as possible to the researchers. So this type of bridging, as Lars have mentioned, so we want to establish a much more solid bridge.
yeah. So, and Paul, I know, but just to call, Paul's been very helpful, Paul Gam, to help us introduce us to Singapore. So our hope someday is that might be a future destination for Evaluation Lab, but we're not quite there yet. I don't know. Paul, we'll keep talking. You just have to figure out the right timing and the right venue to make that work. So there's actually a pretty robust conversation. I wish you were in on, Paul, talking about basically a stepped strategy to get to Singapore and then other Asia countries as well. In the remaining time left while we're still recording, I just want to throw it back up into the class. Like, anything surprising you found just in the few days you've been in Scandinavia that you'd like to share, or still questions that you're pondering for experts that have been here forever that they might answer for you? If you're going to speak, Harrison, you got to come up closer.
There you go. I was gonna say, hearing about Scandinavian culture and how there's the perception outside of Scandinavia that people are so closed off. They're difficult to connect with when, you're coming over as a visitor or traveler. And it's been very nice to see the people that we've talked with and gone to the company presentations for with Bayer, and we were just at a startup today, and all the presenters have been like really engaging, really willing to answer our questions and converse with us, which I thought was really cool and kind of like goes against that perception, which I knew to be not necessarily true, but to see it in action was really cool.
Yeah, I mean that honestly is the biggest value of trying to do these programs and why we're doing this part of the Carlson Global Institute. Just Carlson's like, it's great to do an international trip, but what makes it really immersive is that you get to work with people on the ground and learn really how things are actually operating. I mean, I honestly, my attitude about Sweden would have been stuck with what someone told me in 1985 had I not been here interacting with folks over a period of time. So I'm grateful for that awakening along the way. And so you folks are just halfway through. So see where things go from there. Just while we still have the tape running, I just want to again just my thanks really to Samir and Mike for being partners in this endeavor for a while. It's hard to imagine we're 1 year out from doing this for 10 years here in Stockholm. I think, Samir, you and I have talked about like that version 2.0 is coming where it'll be, we're going to get matched with doctoral students. Is that the plan?
Yep, that's the plan. The plan is that since I personally focus mainly, my Actually, I joined the academia back after being a researcher and studying medicine is actually to help PhD students to get more entrepreneurial education, because that's really key point. We have a lot of students here, around 2,500 a year, that graduate, and we would like that they bring whatever innovation that they had in the lab outside the lab. So this is super important, and now to engage them more and we are trying to turn that into rewarding, as all of you need points to graduate. And for them, this is the same. So it's really good to provide them with this, what we call here in Europe, ETCS points. So they are education point that they can use, so they can also come and spend time and learn more and engage with you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So this is going to conclude our recorded portion of the Dockside Chat in June, live from the Nordic countries. And stay tuned. We have a whole innovation sequence set up for July. It'll be at our regular time as opposed to doing this at 9 a.m. It's like a drive time program for Minnesotans.
Yeah.
Great to see folks tuning in, and we hope to see folks coming in the future.